What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the Mana Dorks channel. This is Scour. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, it's a free-form, open-ended discussion about anything and everything Magic. Mike, what are we talking about today?
Well, thanks for introducing me. I'm Mike.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just going at it.
Go ahead. Who are you?
I'm Nick.
Great. So welcome to Scour. Let's go through our topic for the day.
Okay.
Topic today is what 3 forms of removal are the most effective? Tons of way to remove opponents' threats, control boards, keep yourself safe in the game. So what are the most effective ways of doing that?
There's a lot of ways to do it.
Removal is aplenty.
And playing with you, I feel like I've seen every single one of them.
I am king of spot removal. I will crown myself king of spot removal.
But there's not just like the standard removal.
Mm-hmm.
There's other ways to
like what?
To accomplish it. Like I could take control of, or I could take control of one of your creatures,
sure,
and then swing at another opponent who agrees to block it and kill it.
I like that. I like that idea. Or you could sacrifice the stolen creature if you have sacrifice outlets.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's plenty of ways to do it. Why don't we start with the standard methods? Do you want to?
Yeah, let's go through those. Obviously, we have destroy target creature, enchantment, artifact, those types of things. Exile, which puts it in a different zone. Just those two seem to be the most prevalent in the basic form of removal. One of them, to me, is more permanent than the other. I think Exile is more permanent than Destroy.
Definitely.
Because there's lots of ways to get creatures back from the graveyard. Eternal Witness, Regrowth, Living Death, like just return.
You could name cards for
seriously
hours.
But I can't think of one. Maybe there's an Eldrazi that puts something from Exile into graveyard.
That's what I've been trying to think about.
But usually it's your opponent's graveyard. You take a card from your opponent's Exile and put it into their graveyard.
And there's also a lot of cards that will say you can cast cards from Exile, but only if you've put them there with that card.
Yes, exactly. So, right. So,
but I can't think of anything that just does it. Just you can go to Exile and get something back.
So maybe Exile should be a part of our top 3. We'll keep it aside.
I didn't want to say it so soon, but yeah.
It's probably obvious. Some other ways of removing things. I'm starting to think in terms of the color pie now. I know that blue does a lot with counterspells and bounce.
Bouncing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you have to say about those? Which would you prefer, counterspell or bounce?
Definitely a counterspell because it goes to the graveyard, but you don't always get the chance to do that, whether you don't have the counterspell until after they've played the spell, or you ran out of mana, whatever. But
that's a good point.
Counterspell if it's available, and then obviously bounce if it's not.
Counterspell takes a lot of pre-planning, and a lot of things have to go right for your counterspell to work.
And then I just want to say real quickly, the thing that stinks about counterspells is you have to think really quickly whether that spell is worth countering, because if your opponent thinks it's about to resolve and they keep moving, you have to say, whoa, slow down, let me think about this. And then they're like, oh, he's got a counter.
And then you out yourself.
And then if you don't use it, they know you have something.
Exactly. So. Good point. So they both kind of have their drawbacks.
Right.
Bounce, you have a lot longer to react to something. You can wait a whole turn cycle before you bounce something to someone's hand, do it in response to an attack.
And then two, the counter spells, you can only use them as a response.
Yeah, one time.
Right. But if you're bouncing a creature, you don't have to. It's not something that you can only use when something is cast. You know what I mean? It can be any time that you want to do that.
So the circumstances are better for bounce. The circumstances are more easily right.
But the product of a counter is better than the product of a bounce.
Yes, exactly.
I like that.
Okay, neat. So I don't know if we came to a definitive conclusion about which we would rather prefer, but let's talk about some other types. Still going around the color pie here, moving to black, obviously there's Destroy, -1/-1 counters, or like depleting a toughness below 0 with like Nausea, giving all creatures -1/-1 till end of turn. Not permanent counters, but having to do that all in one turn.
Yep.
I like -1/-1 counters as just a control type of piece where you can deplete your opponent's power and toughness of their creatures, and inevitably work up to a removal of the creature, but it does take time.
Right.
I do like to have things like Black Sun Zenith, which puts -1/-1 counters on all creatures, or a Nausea type effect, because I know how much you like to play tokens. So you have 1/1s all across the board, and then they all get lost.
I also play -1/-1 counters.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes.
But your -1/-1 counters is your Hapatra deck,
Yeah.
which creates 1/1 tokens. So I'll use my nausea to get rid of your snake tokens that you
Yeah.
created.
So, what were the two you named off? -1/-1 counters, and what
Yeah,
was
and
the other
like depletion, I guess. I can't think of
Depletion.
a better term.
one? No, what was the other one you said?
It
Just
has
destroy?
Destroy, yeah.
Yeah, I think destroy is gonna end up getting up there too, in the list, just because.
Yeah.
If like I have plenty of decks that don't have any graveyard recursion,
hmm
so like they're gone.
That's
You know
true.
what I
And
mean?
even if you do run some, it's like 1 or 2 pieces in your deck that you hope to get. And there
Right.
might be something even better in your graveyard that you want.
Definitely.
There's also the other side, indestructible. Things might have indestructible, and you
Yeah.
can't even target them with a destroy.
But you know what can?
What?
Exile.
Great. So we've agreed on that. We've
Okay.
agreed on exile.
That's funny.
Let's keep going.
What
with
else we got?
The color pie here, I'm looking at red now.
Yeah.
Direct damage. Obviously, red can just bolt your creature.
Yeah.
Bolt the bird is what they say. Deal 3 damage to that Birds of Paradise. So that's a form of removal, kind of similar to whatever we just talked about, depletion. And -1/-1 counters,
Yeah.
in that you're bringing the toughness below. It's just kind of happening in a different way.
And those are cool too because you can kind of psych your opponent out if you swing with a little creature at their big creature and they're like, "What is it? What are you up to?" And they block it, and then you can bolt it and
Nice.
destroy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of like combat tricks, but after combat damage.
After blocks, before combat damage.
Sure. Okay, I
Yeah.
get it. I get it.
Or I guess you could do it after. Too.
Either way,
it doesn't matter.
But all that is to say that red's got instant speed damage removal,
Yeah.
whereas black with the -1/-1 counters and the depletion tends to be at sorcery speed.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I would say burn might be making its way up there.
Okay.
For that reason only.
So burn is what we're calling this.
Yeah, I guess.
Topic.
Direct damage.
Okay.
Trying to think if red can take care of things any other ways, like Chaos Warp, which targets something, shuffles it into the library,
Yeah.
and then you flip the top card, and if it's a permanent, you put it on the battlefield. There's some chaotic type things like that, but they are chaotic for a
Right.
reason.
Yeah, because you could get something better.
I could get rid
on
of
the
your Riz and pull out a Avenger of Zendikar or something, and
And I wouldn't be terribly mad.
no way. You should not be. So anyway, I think that direct damage or burn, whatever we'd like to call it, is a decent place to start for removal.
Definitely.
But I wouldn't go for the chaotic removal that we just mentioned.
Okay.
Okay?
Should we talk about green?
Yeah, what about green?
So green has a lot of, what's the term?
Fight?
Fight.
Yeah.
Is that what you called it earlier?
Yeah, the card Prey Upon.
Yeah. I thought you had some funny word for it, but
No.
it, the target creature deals damage to target creature.
Yeah, well, there's that effect, like a rabid bite, which
Yeah.
your creature deals damage equal to its power to another target creature. But then there's like Prey Upon, where the creatures fight each other, basically like an attacker and a blocker. So they each
Gotcha.
deal their damage to each other versus the rabid bite effect.
I swear you said some word that I was like, okay, we got to say that word on the show, but
Well, I wish you had remembered it.
I guess, I don't know. Sorry, guys.
Well, fight effects, or I guess we'll say rabid bite effects as well, because I think I would prefer a rabid bite effect over a fight effect.
Yeah.
I don't want my creature to be dealt damage when I could
Right.
just have it deal its power to something else.
Okay.
I guess there are some cases where you care about toughness, like with Doran, the Siege Tower, and Arcades as commanders, which care about pumping up toughness of creatures rather than its power. You wouldn't want your creature to deal its power to another creature. But in
Okay.
those decks, you'd have better access to removal than that. So I'd say all in all, I would prefer a rabid bite effect in green because there are so many big, high power creatures.
I agree. I think I agree with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, okay.
If we were in green,
If
I would take that.
If you're an only green,
Yeah, because if you're not, then there's probably something that would be better.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Um,
Unless your deck is, well, this can be true for all of them, but your deck might be centered around the fighting
True.
piece.
Yeah, there are a couple of commanders, or at least a commander and a couple of cards that say if whenever a creature you control fights another creature.
Right.
So then you would want something like that.
Yeah.
I,
But then again, you could say that about anything else. Like red, if you had Mizzix, and your goal is to cast instants and sorceries, then that's the best kind of removal you're going to use. Because
It's true. If you play Norin the Wary, which is just known for chaos as a deck strategy, you might want to play Chaos Warp instead.
Right.
You know? So I guess
It's
this
very-
is all subjective.
So there's a few that stand out that are like overall probably the most effective
Sure.
means, but there's not always a place for them.
Absolutely. We're not saying top 3 best, you have to only play these types of removal, because everyone has different play styles. Everyone's got different themes for their decks. So if Exile doesn't work for you for some reason, then maybe you care about your opponent's creatures dying.
Going to the graveyard.
Yeah, so you don't want them to be exiled.
Right.
So I guess we're talking blanket statement, removing them from the game permanently, or dealing with the threat permanently, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that the best way to say it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I did forget about a couple that I have written
Go
down
for
here. Like pacifism effects. So pacifism is 1 and a white for an enchantment aura that says enchanted creature can't block or attack. There's some like suppression bonds which also say its activated abilities can't be activated. Darksteel Mutation turns it into a 0/1 bug with indestructible, so even if you try to block with it, it can't die.
Frogify.
So like Frogify, exactly, turning it into a 1/1 frog. So
And it's happened to me quite a few times.
I love to Frogify.
A 2020 Riz, Frogified,
How'd you get Riz up to 2020?
20 enchantments, bro.
Riz has now turned into your enchantment deck?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
sure.
no, I'm sorry. I meant Tuvasa.
That's what I figured.
Okay.
I was just trying to catch you on it.
You caught me.
So, but all that is to say, play the removal that you like to play, because in my Teysa Karlov deck, maybe I want destroy things, because sometimes I might have to destroy my own creatures to get those death benefits.
Right.
So it is very subjective what we're talking about here. But blanket statement, we would like to come up with 3 of the best ones to remove from the game, I guess, permanently.
Yeah.
So I guess that goes straight to Exile, which says permanently removed from the game.
Yeah.
So Exile's got to be in that list. What do you think about the pacifism effect?
I think it's pretty neat. Maybe there's a reason you want the creature to not be gone, but you don't want it to do anything. I don't know when that might, like maybe if you wanted to fumigate at some point, so you want the extra creatures, I don't know.
If you, let's say you're playing Tuvasa, which is all about putting enchantments onto Tuvasa.
Yeah.
And I know that you run Replenish, which can return all your enchantments to the battlefield. You have like Hall of Heliod's Generosity to return enchantments to your hand. So if I don't want those enchantments or those auras going into the graveyard that you can then return, maybe I want to put a pacifism on it so you can't do anything with it and it'll just stay there.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a very niche case.
Yeah. There's definitely better times to use it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it belongs in the list.
Yeah, okay. I think I agree with you. Maybe it's not even removal.
Yeah.
It's like prevention. Something totally different.
What's that word? I'm blanking. I'm sorry. Consulate Crackdown is another type of of that type. Exile target artifact until it leaves the battlefield.
Yeah. Like a Journey to Nowhere, where it exiles a creature until it leaves the battlefield.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a different type of exile as well.
It's a different. Yeah. It's like a not so temporary type of removal. I mean, it is a
not so permanent.
Not so permanent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas like a Path to Exile just gets rid of the creature. In total. Okay, I'd rather have a Path to Exile than a Journey to Nowhere.
Right.
Unless, like for Tuvasa, if you care about enchantments, Maybe you want to run a Journey to Nowhere.
And that's what we were talking about earlier. It's
Yeah.
like sometimes you want these, lesser powerful removal spells because they work in your deck.
They'll synergize better than just an instant spell.
Right.
Cool. So I kind of feel like I don't even want to come up with a top
You
three.
don't want to come up with a list? Well,
Since it's become so subjective, like what would top be referring to?
I will say those things are really powerful in certain decks, right? But an exile spell, Scour from Existence,
Yeah.
is a powerful card in any deck.
True.
You know what I mean?
That's true. That's why I run it in my mono red decks.
Right.
I have the option to run burn, but I'll still toss a Scour from Existence in there to exile a permanent.
Right, because if somebody has a 15/15, you're not going to be able to burn it too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Even a Blasphemous Act couldn't touch that.
Right.
So, well, now I'm thinking, are we talking about removing permanents or creatures? Because, like, you can't burn an enchantment.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole different class of removal.
Probably both, we should say.
Yeah. I mean, overall, for creatures, enchantments, artifacts, you want to exile them.
Right.
I'm just going to say that. In my personal opinion, you're going to want to exile them. It's the hardest way to get them back.
Right.
And that's what I'd be worried about. I worked hard, put mana and a card from my hand into getting rid of that, so I don't want you to return it.
Yeah.
So I say exile for me.
As number one.
As number one, as just my top, and maybe...
It has to be.
Yeah. It's so versatile.
Such a strong stand, but it has to be.
Yeah.
It's the most powerful thing.
Seriously.
The best way to do it.
Well, let us know if you disagree. If anyone watching says, no way, you want to burn things, you want to fight creatures, let us know. Tell us how you feel about this, because that's the point of Thought Scour. We want to scour your thoughts as well.
So then, I guess second on the list, what do you think it would be?
Oh, gosh. Since we're talking about Commander as well, I kind of want to put those hijack effects in there, where you steal someone else's creature to remove it that way. Because that's kind of a versatile twofold spell. You can steal their creature, and if you don't want to get rid of it for some reason, you can just swing it back at them and hit them for a lot of damage. Or you can steal it with the intent to get rid of it. That way, if it has indestructible, you can sacrifice it. Things like that. It's so unique, and Commander is 4 players, so there's 2 other players you can swing at that'll block the creature and kill it. So,
but I feel like I'd rather just destroy it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think I kind of like to go about things in a convoluted way, I guess.
I understand that. Yeah. I think we're trying to see what's most effective.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've seen that. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to say a lot, but I've seen a good amount of spells that you take control of a creature, but there's something that gives it back.
Yeah, until end of turn.
Yeah, something like that. So if you don't have a sack outlet or another opponent to block it, then that spell's almost useless.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I guess you're right. So then maybe I'll... Go ahead.
But then again, these cards may work best in a certain type of deck. Going back to what we said before.
Right, like Marchesa the Black Rose is in Grixis colors, and whenever a creature you control dies, if it had a +1/+1 counter on it, it returns to the battlefield under your control.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even have to be your creature.
Okay.
I can steal your creature, somehow put a +1/+1 counter on it, sacrifice it, then return it to the battlefield, and now it's under my control forever.
Right.
So hijack effects work really well in that style of a deck.
Yeah.
Whereas you might not want exile, because if you play now I can't think of what it is. Like, what's that exile spell? It's board wipe that exiles like artifacts, enchantments, all these types of things. It's in black-green. Not black-green, black-white. I even run it in Tesa. Now I can't think of it.
Oh, it's
Nobody can think of it. Someone's going to let us know what it is.
They're probably screaming at us.
Well, you wouldn't want to face that type of a card in a Marchesa deck because then it would exile your things.
Right.
And you can't return them to the battlefield. So looking from an opponent's side, what would I hate to see the most coming at my board?
Okay.
So,
You're saying that would be the most effective, is whatever you'd hate to see the
I
most?
guess, yeah.
I see that.
Right? Is another way to look at it.
Yeah.
Like when I play a spot removal spell, what are you hoping not to see? When Tuvasa's on the
You're
battlefield.
saying type of removal.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping not to see. Exile.
Yeah,
For sure.
of course. Okay, take exile out of the question. What's next?
I'd say destroy.
Okay, destroy. Great, because you might not have given it indestructible yet.
Right.
What's third? Would you rather have me like bounce it back to your hand, counter it when it comes in, fight it, burn it, deplete it somehow?
Would I rather, you're asking? I'd rather you not do it at all. I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of what I would rather do to get rid of it.
Can I answer for you?
What do you think?
You always get cranky pants when I counter your spells.
Oh, okay. I wasn't thinking countering.
But you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's just so frustrating when
It is.
you're like, yep, here it comes playing it. I'm ready to do my next thing. And I say, no, you're not. Bam, here it is.
What's the most back and forth counter spells have you seen in a game? Like somebody counters and someone counters the counter, and
I
then,
think it's only been 2 or 3 stacked on top
that's
of each
what
other.
I'm thinking too.
And I think we were in the same game together as with Dan.
Were we?
I think so.
I don't remember.
Anyway, a lot of counter spells happened there.
Yeah.
But,
I'd like to know what the world record for stacked counter spells is.
well, there's a counter spell that has Storm, Fluster Storm. So it's like,
Oh.
got to be a well-known enough thing.
Yeah. Wow.
That would be cool to play against a Storm deck.
Yeah.
Well, if you were to ask me, I'm going with Exile first,
Yeah.
and then I would say Counter.
Counter.
Because Counter is versatile, and it's
Yeah.
going to be, you can counter my enchantments, my creatures, my planeswalkers even. So,
Right.
whereas you can't, it's harder to destroy like a planeswalker because there's a few cards on it, or a few spells that actually do that specifically.
If I may, the problem that I have with counter spells, like I touched on it earlier, is that you have to decide in the moment whether you're going to use it, and then you can't decide when something bad is going to happen.
Right.
So I can respond with a destroy spell right before you're about to do something bad, rather than say, oh, he could be doing something bad with this, maybe I should counter it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I guess that's kind of why it's bumped down for me. But it's definitely a very effective thing. But I've definitely gotten hosed countering a spell before you play the real spell.
Yeah,
So-
that's
And I
the
bait
other
you
thing.
too. When I know you have something, I bait you with a spell I know you'll counter, and then play the one I want.
Now, the other good thing about counters is if you know that I have a counter, you're not going to play anything.
Right, it's a deterrent.
Yeah, so
But that could be said for any removal spell, pretty much.
I guess you're right. I guess that makes sense. I'm still sticking with counter up there as my second. So I hope you can agree with that, or at least we can agree to disagree on that. But
Okay, maybe we should have separate lists.
oh yeah, of course. I don't think we have to come up with a Mana Dorks list. It can be
Okay.
Mike and Nick.
So I think counter is up there for me as well.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be exile, destroy, counter.
Yeah. Okay.
And are you just flip-flopped
I
there?
think I'm just going to do exile, counter, destroy.
Okay. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because this is Magic. We don't have to believe the same thing.
Of course. Of course not.
Because Magic's the best game in the world.
It seriously is. I mean, what games do you know other than, I guess, Pokemon that have spanned like 20 plus years with continuous growth and continuous new interest? Like, we're always getting new players to join, and
Right.
it's got like such a good retention rate too. Like, a lot of people just continue to play Magic,
Right.
which is just so telling for how good this game is.
It's too good.
Anyone watching, if you don't play Magic for some reason and you're watching us, please
Give
start.
it a try.
Give it a try. Send us an email, or I guess you don't know our email, but you can find our website where you can contact us and chat to us. Tell us what we love. Ask us what we love most about Magic, so we can tell you, and you can start to love that as well. Find your own things that you love about it. Everything we talk about on here is so subjective to individual players.
Right.
We're just two guys that have these thoughts, Scour. We have these thoughts on Magic, so we like to talk about them. If you have different thoughts, let us know, because you might change our minds, honestly. We just came up with this list for ourselves right now, so
Yeah.
let us know what you think. Nick, where can they find us if they want to get in touch with us?
They can find us at themanadorksmtg.com, at themanadorksmtg on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, anything else?
No.
TikTok, we're at the Manadorks because we made that one first. Where else are we?
YouTube.
YouTube,
That's
that's
probably where
you
you're watching
are
this.
right now, probably, or Spotify.
Yeah, click subscribe below. Click on our channel. Check out the other videos that we've done. We have a lot more coming. Cool.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.